G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Just quickly off the top, don't forget to subscribe down below, and also tomorrow, Wednesday, is our Ask Kenty. So get your Ask Kentys in and we'll get through as many as possible tomorrow. Kenty, another big news day in rugby league with Mark Nawaqanitawase going to rugby union, or informing the Roosters that he's returning to rugby union to play for the Wallabies at the World Cup.
Yeah, look, it's pretty staggering, to be honest. I thought he might stay in rugby league. I know that the home World Cup in 2027 is something that people are interested in, and rugby league players who have played rugby union are looking at it. Angus Crichton came out the other day and kind of said he'd had one eye on it and wondered about whether he could come back to rugby union and play in that. But Nawaqanitawase, he's told the Roosters that next season will be his last for the club, and then he will go back to rugby union. I think the crucial part to it was a couple of things. Firstly, the ARU, or Rugby Australia as they are now, have rolled back on their Gitto rule, which was a rule that basically if you're going to be selected for the Wallabies for World Cups and things, you had to be playing in the domestic competition.
With a few exceptions.
With a few exceptions, yep. but they've rolled back on that. Now you can be playing overseas. Look, so it's the best of both worlds for Nawaqanitawase. He goes back to rugby union. He'll take one of those rich Japanese deals or French deals, make a stack load of money, and then out of that, he'll still get picked for the Wallabies, get picked to play a home World Cup, and just world's his oyster. Look, he goes there and makes a lot of money, doesn't get tackled a lot, and you know what I mean?
He'll probably earn twice what he's earning in the NRL over there in France or Japan.
Well, if not more. Yep. If not more. Yep. I get it's a commercial decision. It's disappointing from a rugby league point of view. I thought his development this season was probably the most improved player in the NRL this season. He will go back to rugby union a far more better player than what he came from, and he'll be just a superstar. So good luck to him. He will be able to just demand his own pot of gold overseas now. I think it might cost him a Kangaroos tour at the end of the year. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah,
I know there's been a lot of pressure, not pressure, but little, hey, nudge, wink, wink.
Come on, mate.
Yep. Yeah, advice to Kenty Woz about how beneficial it would be for the NRL if the Kangaroos coach was to select him to tour England now in the upcoming Ashes series.
If you're Kevy, do you pick him?
I don't now. No, probably not. Look, he wouldn't have gone away as a starting winger in the team. Okay. He would have gone away as a kind of a development winger, and part of the internal pressure I think that was being applied to Kevy was that if he did get picked, it would make it harder for him to go back to rugby union. So there's a bit of that involved. So he wasn't necessarily on the plane, but certainly as a development player, as a guy that's probably the next guy in when the position becomes available. That's what that was for. Now that won't happen now, I don't think. Kevy might still, I don't know what Kevy's thinking, but he might still take him away. But I don't think they'll look at him now. But I'm a rugby league fan first and foremost. So I'm disappointed for the game that he's only going to play a couple of seasons here and then he's gone.
Next year will be his last season before Au revoir, maybe.
Au revoir.
What is it in Japanese?
I've got no idea.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Anyway.
There you go. Look at that, eh?
Look at that. Boom, boom.
Check out the big brain on Woz.
Anyway, on to team news, Kenty. A couple of big changes at the Broncos.
Well, they had to make big changes, didn't they? Billy Walters is out. Obviously, Adam Reynolds is back from injury. Ezra Mann back from injury. Pat Carrigan's out with suspension. So they've had to do a little bit of minor surgery at the Bronx, but they're still going to put out a pretty strong team.
Yeah, so Tyson Smoothie comes in for Pat Carrigan.
Yeah, he comes in and plays lock.
Yep.
Look, Carrigan, he can't be replaced. He's an Origin caliber player, representative, international, all that. So he's going to be a big loss to them. The interesting thing though which something we sort of touched on a few times, is just the changes in the halves. Now, Ben Hunt's gone to 5'8".
Yep.
Adam Reynolds has come back into the side. Billy Walters is injured. There was a lot of talk after their injuries, after they both did the hamstrings, Reynolds and Mam, about how essentially the new look Brisbane halves, which at the time was Hunt and Billy Walters, had unlocked Reece Walsh.
Yeah.
Now, is he locked up again? You know what I mean? Like, we don't know, do we? So
I get it.
It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, because Reece Walsh, he's really come on in leaps and bounds the past few weeks. I wouldn't say he's doing anything more brilliantly than he's done in the past. He's just eliminated those other elements of his game that you just think, oh, Reece, what have you done there?
Yeah.
And but that's down to the coaching. He's done a great job, Michael Maguire, for all the criticism he's copped this year. I think he's really he's justified the appointment.
Yeah, one game off the grand final. It must be, I guess, refreshing for him to think of everything he's been through this year and the criticism that he's received from all parts.
Yeah, look, I never bought into that whole. Yeah, now I spoke to Michael Maguire. I get on quite well with Michael Maguire. I like him. He has one way of seeing things. And he has this, it's an old-fashioned saying, steel sharpens steel. And the fittest team all season were the Raiders, okay? And we saw what they did on the back of being so fit. The Broncos weren't fit enough. They haven't been fit enough at that elite level, at that top end of the table level. They have not been fit enough. I know a couple of years back they got the grand final. They played their way into fitness through the season, and they got there basically on the back of very few changes in the teams. The guys were going out playing every week, and their match fitness just caught up to where they needed to be. But essentially, the Broncos, historically, the past 10 years, have not been among the fittest teams in the competition.
Why is that? Is it because it's got this presence about them up there, or
no? It's not that. It's this whole attitude. There's no perfect answer to it, and it's this whole problem that gets created about how much hard work against how much recovery, how much of a load you put in each week. And now the different high performance managers all have different ideas on what's necessary. But Maguire subscribes to the age-old one, which happened when Kelvin Giles was poached from the Canberra Raiders by Wayne Bennett way back when, 30 years ago. And Kelvin Giles said to Wayne Bennett when he first got there, what do you want me to do with him? Now, the Broncos had a reputation then for fading out late in the season and hadn't been able to make the semi-finals. This is in the late 80s and early 90s of their existence. So when Kelvin Giles said to Wayne Bennett, what do you want to do? Wayne Bennett said, put some steel in him. And he wrote a paper about it. I'm trying to find it. I've spoken to Matty Johns about it. We're in the search for it. We both had it at one point, and it's been lost. But he wrote a paper about it, and he wrote of all the groups he's trained all around the world, the Broncos were the most impressive. That Broncos group, just how tough and resilient they were. And on the back of that, they won premierships.
Yeah, okay.
And he said he was deliberately unfair the way he trained them. He would say to them, guys, you're going to do 10 400s. Anyone doesn't go, run it all the way out, you start again. And he said, so they'd run it all the way out. After 8 of them, they've run every 400 out. And you go, no, one of you didn't run it out. He'd make them start again.
God.
Right?
Yeah,
and they'd all bitch and moan. But he said, so mentally tough. And that mental toughness comes through hard training. Maguire recognised that. Now, the Broncos, they fall into this habit. You can fall into this habit of, look, we're professional athletes. We know our bodies. We know what we need to do. But if you let them have a chance, they'll take the easy way. That's just human nature. So
even for professional athletes,
yeah, well, it is too. Not probably the same. They don't
as
take,
you and I,
yeah,
of course.
they don't take the same attitudes we might take, but they do that. For example, as I just told you, you run 400, you run the 400 out. You don't jog down, so you walk in the last 3 meters over the finish line. So we'd probably pull up a little bit before then, but that's the sort of thing that happens. And Maguire is unrelenting in that aspect, and so we tried to change the Broncos' attitude with that, and that meant at different times they were uncomfortable with how much they were working hard, and they didn't like it. Now,
what about the idea they're hamstrings that a result of that overuse?
Well, that could be right.
I just made that up, by the way.
hamstrings do tear when you're fatigued, okay, and you're dehydrated is another reason they can tear, and dehydration can also come through extensive training. So there are reasons why it can happen. But as a professional athlete, it's your job to, one, hydrate, and two, stretch. You've got all the rehabilitation facilities and choices there. So Maguire just didn't cop any of that, and I think the value of that's now coming out to show. That they're still here. They look magnificent against the Raiders the other night. They played out the entire 95 minutes. The fact that they were still playing hard at the end of 95 minutes showed what good shape they're in. Now, I know that Buzz has been going on about the the players were off him and all that sort of business. I don't dispute what Buzz said, but I don't know if it's the entire group. It doesn't take long. It can only take one player's unhappy.
Yeah.
And if he's got a tube to the media, he can get his message out there. So I don't disagree or dispute what Buzz said. I probably don't tend to go along with the fact that the entire squad was off him though, and I think regardless, the merit of what he's done is now showing itself. So I think well done to Michael Maguire. He saw it through. I think the Broncos need to train tough. They do have that rock star status in Brisbane.
Yep.
And at times they need to kick up the backside. And even Reece Walsh, I dare say he's responding well to Michael Maguire's coaching. So they're in good shape, the Broncos. And I know, look, the mechanics of running the team are going to be take a little bit of work to get done this week because they probably weren't firing as well as what it had been without Reynolds and Mam in the squad. But still, you'd rather be where they are than where the Raiders are or Roosters or Bulldogs or any of those teams.
So let's talk about a couple of the other changes. Ezra Mam comes in on the bench. What do you think about that? Playmaker, obviously.
Yeah, look,
X factor.
Yeah, I think it's probably a luxury that you're going to have him on the bench. But he's a game breaker. So he'll be there for a purpose. He'll be there if the scores are tight and they need something. He does have a really good relationship with or combination with Reece Walsh. So I think that's an option there. They can move Ben Hunt to hooker if they need to and play him at 5'8".
So rather than have a spare hooker on the bench, they play Ezra Mam and then because Hunt can go to hooker.
Yeah. So look, that's a luxury that I think Mike Maguire's got. He's able to use. I think for them to win the premiership, they probably do need a player like Ezra Mam there. And the other thing is to beat Penrith, you've got to score points. You just got to be able to go out and get points, and Mam's a point scorer.
As we saw a couple of years ago in the grand final, he can be dynamic, man.
Well,
he can score from anywhere.
3 tries in 15 minutes, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, Kenty, let's talk about the Storm. Obviously, massive news with Jahrome Hughes back at 7.
Yeah, so far. He's been named in the 7 jersey, which is a real boost for the Storm. And look, Harry Grant spoke this morning before training, and he spoke about what has been going on there. Jahrome Hughes, we don't know really the extent of the injury. He's got to be put through some tests this week. The understanding is that his strength is pretty good. When he first broke the arm, he had surgery. He had plates and screws put into it to make it stronger. The whole thing about that, though, is they've just got to get through the game, don't they? And we'll get through training and be confident they're going to get through the game. But it's a positive sign that they've named him in the 7 jersey. Wishart's on the bench. Pez's been named on the extended bench, so there is a little bit of wiggle room if he doesn't get through the week. Grant spoke about the fact that he's going to have to get through the week.
So what will the week look like for him, you think?
Well, it's got to be a tough one because they're going to have to test him out a little bit without really sort of taking it to the limit.
So is that full contact?
He'll do close to full contact, I imagine. There's not going to be a lot of difference, I don't think, in the healing of the arm between here and the game on Friday. It's only 3 days away. So they'll want to be reasonably confident that he's going to get through the game. That's going to come into things like, well, we're going to look at the way, how he's passing the ball, how he's holding the ball, how he carries the ball when he runs it. I imagine it's his left arm that's broken. I imagine he's going to be a lot of right arm carries when he does run the ball, and he's a tremendous ball runner, as we know. I don't think he's going to want to be having the ball there and having people impact on that as he's running. But Craig Bellamy will keep a close eye on him. He'll go through the various stages. He'll have talks with the medical staff. He'll talk to Hughes himself, get a feeling for how he thinks he's going to get through it. He'll want to see confidence from him. He'll want to see him be able to do the general basics without any limitations, no wincing, no holding back, no tentativeness or anything like that. And that's going to be not only passing the ball, whether he feels pain as he passes the ball, we don't know, but also when he makes tackles and just how he basically latches on during the tackle and whether he can get through that. So that'll be the process for the rest of the week. But the fact that he's in the 7 jersey, I really like it. To me, it shows the Storm's intent.
Kenty, I think sometimes as a fan you forget the gladiatorial aspect of these players. I mean, to play with a broken arm.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah, we overlook it. I was only going to look at last week with Viliame Kikau. Refused to get his eye socket x-rayed because he knew that if it came back that he'd had a fracture, excuse me, the doctor would have ruled him out. So he refused to get the eye socket x-rayed. Played with it, got through the game. Unfortunately, they didn't get the victory, so he can go and basically do his healing now. But we don't appreciate how tough they are, do we?
No. The other big change is obviously Pappenhausen coming back in at fullback.
Yeah.
Nick Meaney to the centres.
Yeah, that's positive.
Yeah.
Pappenhausen's he's electric. He's got a lot of points in him.
He's their X factor in many ways.
Well, look, Melbourne need to find some points this week. Cronulla's defence has been tremendous in the past month, and they need someone who can really bust them open. Meaney, he's a solid contributor at fullback, but he's not Pappenhausen at fullback. Pappenhausen's just got that ability to just float around, scavenge a little bit, just finds balls here and there that you don't expect him to get, but he finds it. He's a great support player, and he's just got that speed that he can bust the defence open. So. He's a really necessary part of, I think, Melbourne's game this week.
And Sean Blaw's back also. So,
yeah,
Melbourne looking good.
They look as good as they can be. I think that Melbourne, provided they get through this week with Hughes, he gets through the game okay. The other thing, let's remember, when he busted his arm 3 weeks ago, he was his first game back from a shoulder dislocation.
Yeah, that's right.
He's had an extra 3 weeks to work on that, strengthen it up, but it still probably wouldn't be ideal. So he's got to deal with that, but he's a tough little bugger, and he's gonna go and have a crack. So good on him.
Let's talk about the news out of Manly, because as we touched on yesterday, news is growing that Turbo is unhappy at Manly, and there's a real chance now to go to the UK.
Yeah, look, I still think he'll stay at Manly. I don't know where it's gone wrong here from the point of view. I'm sort of led to believe that the negotiation had been done between Peter Gentle, who's general manager of football there, and his manager. They'd agreed on a figure, but then once it was taken to the higher ups, the board and whatnot, who obviously with the top 3 or 4 players in your club, generally those contracts have to go through certainly the CEO and often the board.
Who's his manager?
Paul Sutton's his manager,
okay.
and he's a very good manager too.
Yep.
Paul Sutton. So at some point there, it looks like the club has sort of tried to shave a little bit off it, using the rationale that of his injuries and the fact that he's not getting through full seasons, has it for some time. Like since he won the Dally M, I think it was 2022 he won the Dally M, or I'll get picked up on that probably, but since he won the Dally M, he hasn't played, I would say, 3/4 of a season at Manly since, because of all the injuries he's had. Now, the Seagulls have factored that into their offer. I still don't think he'll go to Warrington. I think it just needs basically a sit down, give him a hug, probably come back and relent. Okay, we'll give you a little bit more, find some middle ground there, and just really just let him know that he's appreciated. Look, one thing about Tom and all the Travojeviches is they are sane, rational people. They're not unfair. Tom did offer some years back to take a pay cut.
Yeah, he did.
At the height of all his injuries, when they were trying to save other players because they couldn't afford him in the cap. And he offered to do that, and the NRL would not allow that to happen. Essentially what's happened now is Manly have kind of taken that offer that he made back then and said, okay, we're going to give you that offer. And they've downgraded him on what he was on. Now, that's why I think he'll still stay. I think they'll find some common ground there. The little bit of trickery that appears to have gone on where they agreed to a deal in principle and the deal has since been changed is the issue.
You talk about respect, and one club that's been claiming they've been disrespected this whole year has been Cronulla.
Yeah.
You go for that?
Well, I want to put it this way. Yes, I do think they have been, in one respect, disrespected, but in another, not. Now, Toby Rudolph was on the Today Show the other day, and he said it's good that we're finally starting to do what we know we can do. It's good that we're finally listening to our coach.
There you go. There you go.
That's why the fact that they weren't doing this previously is why they weren't respected enough to win the competition. The fact that they're now doing it is shows that they're that's why they are being respected enough to win the competition. Nico Hines, he walked past a group of journos the other day and chipped him, which is very unlike Nico, but he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about that at the moment. He's probably been the poster boy for the lack of respect that the Sharks have got. But respect is earned. It's never given. They hadn't earned that respect. So it's kind of a funny one because they hadn't earned the respect and they got the shits because they weren't respected. Now they're doing enough that they have earned it. Now, you know what I mean? Now that they're doing it, they're doing enough now that they have earned it and they're getting it, but they got the shits because they weren't getting it back then. Look, but you know what?
Whatever gets them through, though, Kenty.
I was about to say,
if that gets them through.
Nothing works like siege mentality. Siege mentality is a great energy for a short-term cause. You can't carry it through a season. And it's always generally relative. The lack of respect that's caused the siege mentality is relative to how long it can last. The bigger it is, the longer it lasts. This isn't
us versus them, right?
Yeah, and it can fuel teams. There's been teams in the past that have been fueled by that, have won premierships, being fueled by that. Cronulla, I thought, let me say this, were rightfully disrespected, which they've sort of indicated in their language without really realising they're saying it. But now that they're doing enough to be respected and being given a genuine chance to win the comp, people are recognising that. The way they've played the last 3 weeks in particular, it's been sensational. And it's been really first class before, and it is enough to win the comp. They are more than a chance against Melbourne this week. You know, they really are. Get in the grand final, then who knows what happens then. But they're playing better with each week. So it's a funny one. They got the shits because they're not being respected. What happens now that they are? Yeah, they're going to maintain it because you can't go, okay, you guys, all right, we get you now, you're on side. Let's uncircle the wagons and we'll just go back to what we were doing. No one wants that at Cronulla. Just keep it there.
Keep it there.
Keep the
I think
wagon
the fans are happy
circle.
with that too, right?
100%. Yeah, even the fans. Look, Cronulla fans, look, they're like a tower of jelly sometimes. You know, that's how solid they are. You know what I mean? Like,
I used to live in Cronulla. I don't know about
they are. There's a small hardcore group, but that's very small.
Yeah, we only need 14,000 to sell it out, so that's all you need, right?
But there's a small hardcore group who are genuinely hardcore, but the rest are like, well, you know, I like them when they're going well.
Surf's up, not today. All right, shout out to our Cronulla fans out there who are going to blast us. There was a player poll that came out today, Kenty, in the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah.
They polled 500 players, current players.
Yeah. RLPA have contributed to it. They've got that out there too. They like the message getting out. It's been pretty telling, some of the stuff that's come out of it.
Well, 76% of players said that clubs are responsible for moving players on too early.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. I tend to think that it's more often clubs are tapping players on the shoulders and players are saying, look, I want out. We only ever really see the top end players get out. And that's the one that causes all the furor. But clubs are constantly trying to make their salary cap work. That's the sort of part behind it. And salary cap management is so crucial to your success that you've got to you can't afford to have any fat on your cap, so to speak. You can't have someone sitting there who's earning $600,000. He's only given $400,000 in value. Hence, dare I say, the Tom Trbojevic situation. And when you're at that situation, his is slightly different because he's a club great. They are more mindful and more accepting and more respectful towards him. But if you're not a Tom Trbojevic and you're sitting there and you're on 600 and you give them 400 grand in value, they're going to find a way to get rid of you.
Yep.
Because they just cannot afford to carry that. The salary cap is crucial to how you perform each year.
You know what frustrates me, Kenty? It frustrates me to see clubs who sign a player for 600 and then after a year or two they go, you know what? They're not worth it. We need to get rid of them because we need to.
Well, that's what they do.
We need to clean the clap up, and it's like, well, you guys are the ones who signed it for 600 or 500.
That's what I just spoke about. That's exactly it. But it works the other way too. Like you look at a player who'll sign for 400,000 and goes out and blows the doors off, and then what happens is his manager comes in and says, "Well, you got him for 4, but he's really worth 750." And what the managers will do then will go to other clubs. If I get him out of where he is now, will you sign him? Yep, mate, we'll give him 750. So then he comes in, and then the argument, the manager will pick a fight with the club. The club will say, we're not going to give him a pay rise. Then he says, well, kick stones at training, get the mopes, get a couple of clubs to come out and say, look, they're interested in signing him if he ever happened to come off chance or was given the opportunity to speak. And that's what they do. I don't think there's a... It works both ways for me. I do think the clubs drive it, but I don't know the solution to it other than they have to really ramp up the punishments for player managers who break the current rules. Now, as we know, they're not allowed to negotiate until after November 1 of the last season they're entering into. If they've got 2 more years, they're not allowed to negotiate with another club, okay? As far as figures and things like that, they can obviously talk, but they're not allowed to do that. Managers are doing it anyway, and if they get a live bite, they say, okay, now I'm going to go and try and work it. Lachlan Galvin's a good example for, at the fear of bringing that up. But that's a good example this year, okay?
Gus brought it up big time yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a minute. But the thing about all that is the manager, there was a manager suspended some years back for a couple of years. He sat there, he had someone else sitting opposite him at the same desk. They shared a desk, a big desk. And every time a player rang up, they rang the other guy, put the phone on speaker, and the guy sitting in this chair who was suspended would do the negotiations. So he essentially paid no penalty, even though he's suspended for a couple of years. That's toothless. The managers know that. The managers exploit that. The managers are the friction between the clubs and the players. Okay, they're the ones that are. They're all boom no bust at the moment. These guys, they want the top dollar from the club. If that club can't extend or rise the money, they'll take him to another club. Doesn't matter how many years he's got left. And the NRL, they're going to have sit down and form another committee to have a look at the agents at the end of the year. Until they are serious about actually properly punishing and holding standards and actually policing it right, it'll never be fixed no matter what rules they bring in. If the rules now aren't working because they don't allow them, they've got no discipline to make them work. No use bringing in new rules if you're not going to implement them.
I can't bring them in halfway through the season anyway. The interesting thing is, Kenty, I want to just mention this a little bit, is that aside from maybe Galvin this year and maybe Francis Molo at the start of the year, there hasn't been that many players who have agitated to get out of the clubs. But there's been a lot of clubs who have agitated to get players out.
Well, there you go. That's why it's 76%.
Yeah. I think...
Look, I don't think either side's blameless in it.
No, but I think managers do get a bad rap because, when it happens, it is very highly publicised, i.e. Galvin, right?
Yeah. Look, it is, but I don't know. I just think until they actually properly police the rules and police it with proper punishment when they do break the rules, what's the point of the rules? What's the point? They know the rules now and they don't care. Guy got suspended 2 years, didn't miss a day's work, did not miss one commission. You know what I mean? Like what did it cost him other than a couple of bad headlines?
What's the point? Yeah. Well, just touching on Galvin, I know we don't want to talk too much about Galvin anymore.
We've got to update it.
We've got to update, daily update. Maybe we should have a pod just on Galvin.
Galvin BLITZ.
Yeah. Did you hear what Gus said last night, calling the media childish and extremely unfair, he said?
Yeah, look, it's a funny thing. He's clearly got a couple of journos in his sights, and there's a lot of personal background history there with all that. So let's let that go. Thing about it is, I've sat down and I've thought about the game he played on the weekend. I've had a look at what has been said and how it is, and the narrative's still the same. People have just got their opinions. The one thing I looked at the Canterbury season a bit like this. They remind me of the boxer that gets in a championship fight, and after 4 rounds, he's getting touched up a bit. He knows he can't win the fight. So what does he do? He changes tactics. He says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not outboxing this guy, so I'm just going to start swinging for the fences, and I'm going to try and knock this bloke out. The Bulldogs began the season very well. I'll cop that. They led the competition. People don't want to hear that they did have a favourable draw. I don't want to say it was easy, but it was favourable. They played Parramatta twice. They played Titans twice. They played South Sydney twice. Parramatta were at the bottom of the ladder at the time. Titans and South finished near the bottom of the ladder. They played St George. They played Newcastle, also finished near the bottom of the ladder. They had 2 or 3 byes, and I think the third bye was round 17. So they had a lot go their way as far as who the quality of opposition was. Canterbury realised, yes, they're going well. But if we want to win a comp, we're not going to win the comp with this team. They weren't scoring enough points to beat the good teams, to beat the Penrith, who have come up, but beat the Penrith, to beat Melbourne, to beat those teams. They realised that, and they made a change trying to address that. It didn't work out. I think the club would probably accept that if you said that to them. So sadly as it is to say, I think both sides are kind of right in the argument. The pro-Galvin and the anti-Galvin establishments, they're both kind of right. But Canterbury weren't, that Canterbury team from round 1 to 16 was not going to win the comp. The Canterbury team from round 17 to 27, or second week of the qualifiers, it also wasn't good enough to win the comp. The answer is that they weren't good enough to win the comp either one. And people are going to sit there and argue over which was the better team and what they should have done, and if they'd done this, then they would have won the comp. I find it ironic that Sexton was finally brought in at the end, couldn't get him over the line, and in the game where he was brought back, after all the praise and love he'd had, he was fairly ineffectual in that last game, whereas Galvin, with all the criticism he's had, was their best player.
And Sexton was targeted, wasn't he? Yeah.
Well, Galvin was targeted.
And Sexton.
Yeah, they both defensively they were, but they were. But I just find it fascinating the way it's unfolding. But it's a lightning rod story, like the fact that Gould continues to come out and make the next instalment on his argument with the media. I think it's in some ways he hates the media, but he enjoys the fight with the media, and like Buzz is just he's just like poking a stick through a lion's cage, you know what I mean? And just keeps prodding him, and Gould keeps responding.
Let me ask you, Kenty.
But I think in hindsight, Canterbury just were not good enough either way.
Let me ask you, and this may end up on the editing floor, but why do Buzz and Gus hate each other so much?
Oh, look, I don't know where it started. It's like, it's like war in the Middle East, mate. Where did it start?
I still keep Googling it, trying to work it out.
Who threw the first rock? You know what I mean? I just don't know. I don't know where it started. But there was a period there where they tried really hard to get on with each other. Right. They tried really hard to like each other. They're both through trying now. But look, once that happens, like you do have your feuds with people. You fix them as best you can, if you can. And then every now and then you got to go, you know what? That's it. It doesn't work.
Too bad.
And you basically just got to say, mate, we're never going to get on. So
we need to have a live show so you can go through the list of feuds that you've got.
I'm all right. Like, my feuds are pretty well established. Well, look, I don't know.
Who's the biggest?
Everyone knows. Me and Sterling's the biggest, probably. We had a.
What happened there?
Again, who threw the first rock? There's not one incident. There's a few going on there, but
so if you saw Sterlo in a bar,
nothing.
What would happen?
Nothing. I wouldn't say it to him. No, I wouldn't.
And he to you?
No, I think we'd just find different parts of the bar and
the
before
night would go on.
One of us would leave when it was comfortable to leave, I imagine. So
very good.
A lot like that. There's a lot like that, mate. It's funny when you go through all the a lot of the old blues. It's good fun.
We might talk about those off air. Anyway, thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget, Ask Kenty. Put them in there. See you then. Bye-bye.